Yo, what's good? Hey, it took me a while. I was running a few minutes late because your boy is on dad duty, dad mom duty. I think I told y'all before, this is the setup weekend. So, hey, like I said, the wife is gone doing her girls retreat vacation thing every year. And normally, I could lean on moms, but like I said in the other video, moms decided to go somewhere this weekend. So I don't got no recourse but to watch my own kids. Hey, there's nothing wrong with ditching your kids when you see your kids all the time, okay? So y'all don't try to judge me. If I don't see my kids all the time, you can't try to ditch them. But when you see your kids all the time, it is completely fair and within the parental rules to want to get rid of those chuckleheads. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about my family's financial freedom journey, our student loans that we're paying off, kind of where we are, and I really just evaluate what the hell are we going to do next? What are our next steps? I know a lot of y'all been riding with me from this journey from, way back in the day on the channel, but we got to figure out how we're going to move forward. Y'all already know I was a good Financial Peace University graduate, but I've always been kind of Ramsey-ish for two reasons. One, I always just got to do things my own way. And then if it's a better way, after I get the bumps and bruises of trying it my way, then I'll convert. So one, I'm hard headed, but two, some of those things in Financial Peace University, the Dave Ramsey way, just didn't fit with me. One of the biggest things y'all already know, I talk about it all the time, is the whole $1,000 emergency fund. It just never really sat right with me to have a $1,000 emergency fund. Now, if you have to start someplace, $1,000 is a great starting point. But what I've always done, what I'll continue to do is every month I put a certain amount aside to have it go into the emergency fund. So if I was just starting out, $1,000 would be the goal. But then the next real goal would be try to have $1,000 per person in my household. And, I feel like my approach worked out for me because, Lord forbid, had I had a brain aneurysm and all of that stuff would have happened and I had a $1,000 emergency fund, we'd have been screwed. So, some things of the Ramsey method, I'm just not going to adopt. But right now, we got to figure out what's going to be the next approach. We already knew what was going on, and we had a really big assist from the federal government because they froze interest rates on student loans for a long ass time. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if something like that will ever happen again in the history of probably my lifetime. So I felt like we have taken advantage, we are taking advantage, but eventually that's going to come to a abrupt halt. So we got to figure out what's the next plan, what are we going to do? And so, hey, that's kind of what we're going to chop up about in this video. If y'all got some feedback, let me know, because I always think I have an idea, but it's always good to see what's out there in the landscape. Now, just because I reach out for opinions don't mean I'm going to do it, but it does give me more options to kind of think over as we take our next step in our financial freedom journey. Again, I'm a licensed attorney, but this isn't legal advice or financial advice. Y'all know what it is when you're on the channel. I like giving my opinion and takes on financial topics, current events, and letting y'all know what we got cracking in the household of the debt-free dad. When it comes to our financial freedom journey, when it comes to our journey to become first-generation millionaires, it started as a debt-free journey, but I like first-generation millionaire because you can hit first-generation millionaire, not necessarily be debt-free, but be on the road to debt freedom. But that's a whole nother story. All right, so the first thing that I want to talk about is, right now, this is kind of where we are. We haven't touched my wife's student loan at all. So we got just like a $130,000 monster just sitting over in the corner, not gaining no interest, but is looking at us, looking real crazy, looking real shady at us all the time. But we know it's over there, but right now we're not worried about it. What we've been focusing on since February of 2021 was the lower of the two student loans, which was mine, which was $109,000. Currently, that student loan is at about $38,400, something like that. I actually just sent the payment in last week. So it's like $38,000 or something to that effect. Now, this is part one of what the hell is going to be our next step. Eventually, this student loan forbearance and interest rate free shit is going to come to an abrupt end. And I don't know about y'all, but I would like to have my plan going forward when the time comes to start repaying on student loan and we got to pay the interest on student loan. Now, before I dive into that, I will tell you, I definitely floated a couple of options out there. One option that I thought about was refinancing my student loan, that remaining balance that we'll have at the end of the year when student loans, or at the beginning of the year when student loan payments and interest rates resume in January. If student loan payments and interest rates resume in January, the expectation is we'll probably have somewhere around 29 to $26,000 left to pay off. So one of the thoughts was, let's refinance that remaining balance, get a much lower interest rate, because when interest rates start back up, our interest rates on that student loan that we're currently working, that remaining smaller amount, is about 6.9%, which is relatively high. So one thought was, maybe we should refinance that small amount of student loan, whatever it is, when the student loan interest resumes and the payments resume, then just kind of attack that. I'll tell you, refinancing that is probably going to be a terrible idea. What's going on, bro? Hope everything going well with you as well, man. I be seeing your project clips, man. I can't wait till you get back on the long form content, but I know you got a lot to do and you got a lot going on, man. So I hope everything going well with you. All right. So, like I was saying, we had the initial thought of refinancing whatever the smaller balance that remained on the student loan that we're currently working, because in January, we're going to have to start repaying this shit. But again, interest rates is a pain in the ass. I actually looked today at interest rates to refinance a student loan, because when interest rates resume, the interest rate on the student loan that we're currently attacking, that the current $38,000 balance that we hope will be at about $28,000 by the time we have to resume payments in January. Interest rates for student loan refinances are 13%. That's crazy. Like, there's no way as anybody's refinancing at 13%. At one point, like, earlier in 2022, beginning of 2022, I just kind of did a cursory look and interest rates were like 2%. But because the feds just keep increasing interest rates, the interest rates on everything have went up. So if you're refinancing your student loan now, your interest rate going to be high as hell. I'm just telling you. The other thing is that I noticed is that a lot of the vast majority of student loan refinances are variable rates. Like 90% of them that I saw are variable rates. So every time the interest rates go up, if you have a variable rate that you refinance on, you kind of going to get screwed and get hit over the head. So we probably won't be refinancing in January when we got to start repaying that shit. We probably not going to refinance, because now the interest rates for refinances a student loan isn't good enough to really be beneficial to us. You know what I mean? So, ah, okay. Well, I hope you got a good rate, better than some of the stuff that I've been seeing out there. Because it's, oh, that's not bad. 4.43. That's not bad. Yeah, if I could get that, I would probably refinance that remaining balance on that first loan that we're working on. That's definitely good for a HELOC. Then it gives you that line of credit so you can pull from in the event you needed to repair your home. So I think that's definitely a good look. So one of the things I wanted to pull up on the screen, I actually threw this question out to the intellectual savage community, because the question was, all right, when we have to start repaying our student loans in January, how is the best way to approach it? So I wanted to just tag in, let y'all see the results of that poll so we can really talk about it. Ah, that's smart. That's smart to do it at that lower interest rate. Yeah, that's a smart move, since you already have the HELOC. Yeah, that's I can't be mad at that. I mean, I'm not necessarily a HELOC guy, but mathematically what you're doing makes sense to me. So you're gonna get the thumbs up approval from DFD over here. So let's go ahead and pull up this poll, see what we had here, just from this poll that we got on the screen. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and read it. I mean, y'all can see it, but I just read it. DFD community, I want your opinion. On this, in February 2021, my student loan balance was $109,000. By January 2023, it'll be $28,000, more or less. Like I said, my wife's student loans are currently $130, and we will turn our attention to that once mine is gone. If payments restart, should we? And then there was, a few options that was there. There was even some good options in the comments. It was some people who are just math nerds who was like, you got to do the math to break it down. I will tell you the interest rates on both loans are about the same. I think one is like 6.2 and mine is like 6.4%. So the $130,000 monster that's in the corner, 6.2%. Mine is like 6.4%. That's going to be about $28,000 once these payment resumes. So we had a couple of options, and both options are good options. Option number one was, just pay the minimum amount owed on my wife's, put everything else at mine's, and then just tackle it that way. Option number two was pause her loans and only pay the interest, then put everything else on the smaller student loan that'll be about $28,000 in January. So those were kind of our two options, what we had to consider. Um, I will tell you, yeah, I definitely know what your vote was. I definitely took accountability of your vote out there, brother. I will tell you, I think from a from probably the smartest way to do it and the easiest way to do it would be the one that you voted for. Pay the minimum on my wife's and then just put everything else on mine. So what we would be looking at if we just kind of broke down the numbers compared to what we pay now, we're talking a $1,300 payment on hers, and then about $2,100 would be paid towards mine every month. And you got to remember, interest is going to restart, so some of those are going to go to interest, but that would generally be about the math breakdown. So I think mathematically, that option is probably the smartest option. I think what I'm going to do, and of course, y'all know if I do something and it turns out being abysmal and I have to recalculate, I'm gonna come back and let y'all know. But I think what I'm going to do is when January comes, I think I'm going to put her loan on forbearance and just pay the interest rate. That interest rate of 6 point some odd percent would put the loan payment at probably 200 to 300 and something dollars. It wasn't too bad, but then that allowed me to put like $3,100 on mines. The reason I think I want to do it that way is because at this point, I'm not really too concerned about the mathematics and the numbers. I just want to see that fucking balance go to zero as soon as possible. I think that's just what it is. For me, once that balance goes to zero, hey, it started at 109 in February of 2021. If by August of 2023, that balance is at zero. I just want to see the fucking zero. It's just a mental thing for me. It'll make me feel better to see that fucking loan balance go down to zero. So I think what I'm leaning to and the option that I'm leaning to is going to be put hers on a pause, pay the interest on that because the interest will be not that much money, even though it's a pain in the ass. It's not that much money. Put the remaining balance on mine. That'll have me and allow us to be able to pay that remaining $28,000 more or less that we'll have off a lot faster. We'll probably be able to do it before August of 2023. But for me as a mental thing, I want to see that fucking loan balance say zero. I want it to be zero faster. The fastest way I could get that loan balance to zero and have them send me a notice, because I paid off smaller student loans before, and I felt real good when I got that notice in the mail that said, congratulations, you paid off your student loan. Tell us, how'd you do it? And I was like, hell no, I ain't telling y'all how I do it because y'all gonna try to hate on the next man. But I think that's what we're gonna do with regard to how we're gonna approach everything when the interest rates and payments resume. So I think we're gonna forbearance the wife, just pay the interest, put the remaining $3,100 a month on my student loan, try to knock that one out as soon as possible and get that fucking balance to zero, because I just want that letter. And that's the fastest way. Doing it that way is the fastest way to get it to zero. It may not mathematically be the best route, but it's the fastest way for me to get that loan balance to zero, just kind of in my opinion. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. It's just yeah, man. I something about me. I got to see the damn number, man. So being able to track it back from 109,000 to zero has some value for me. And the other thing is, I'm just be honest, like that's going to be a big motivating thing because I already know. I don't know about y'all, but if y'all ever had like budget fatigue or debt freedom fatigue, debt free journey fatigue, I had that shit. Sometimes I just be tired, like man, this thing is taking a long ass time. So having that number reach zero has some value in it. Exactly. Not when there's an investment account, but having that number hit zero has some value in it. So I think that's what we're going to do as it relates to step one. Now, the second thing that we have to talk about is how how should we proceed as we move on in that debt-free journey. Now, y'all already know if you've been tuned in to this channel, if you haven't tuned in, this is the first time, y'all already know I generally think most people aren't shit. I apologize, everybody watching out there. I think y'all dope. But I've just historically have seen people exhibit the worst of the worst behavior. It just comes from my background as an attorney. I've represented the lowest of the low. I've investigated and through the lowest of the low in jail. So I generally, anytime I meet somebody, not meet somebody, but I generally think a vast majority of people will kind of try to screw you over if they can. So y'all know I'm really I'm really jaded in that regard. So I've never been one to just run out and seek a certified financial planner. I know a lot of certified financial planners. I talk to a lot of certified financial planners who I've had on the show or who I'm going to have on the show. And I actually think they are genuinely trustworthy people who, from every conversation I had with them, have never told me anything that jumped out as, okay, that's illegal or that doesn't make just common mathematical sense. So I will throw that caveat out there. But I'm just skeptical nature. Y'all already know what it is. That's just kind of what you get when you rock it with the debt free dad. Oh, that's still up for debate. Dancing naked in the street is not out of the question. I'm dead ass serious. All jokes aside, I'm dead serious. Like I'm gonna go outside and show my ass. I might not be naked. I might rock some. This new site I'm looking at, you can get your logo, put it on your clothes. I might run naked. I might run partially naked in some DFD boxer briefs, but I digress. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother time once we actually hit zeros on both of them. Because I don't want to do it when I hit zero on one. That's like, I never went to my undergraduate graduation because I knew I had to go to law school. So I felt like I really couldn't celebrate it. And I felt like it really wasn't, I felt like it was done. So I wasn't really pressed to go to that graduation. And that's kind of how I am with student loans. With student loans, like, okay, when we pay off this 109, I'm gonna be elated, but I'm gonna be elated and I'm gonna be motivated to move on, but I'm not gonna be motivated enough to really celebrate because I know that okay, there's one more big tree that we gotta chop down. Then once we get that down, hey, it's gonna be on. And my neighborhood may not be the most conducive to running in the nude. They just got, it's certain a plethora of criminal charges that you could be charged with. So, maybe if I'm out of town somewhere, vacation, I don't know, but I don't know, but in any event, that was yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I might do that. We might do something crazy. Like I don't know. I might go to a restaurant and scream. Whatever it is, whatever we do that's gonna be ignorant. Not ignorant, but borderline ignorant. I'm gonna let y'all know about it. You don't deserve that. I know, man. I don't deserve that. I'm actually glad you brought up that you don't deserve that comment, right? Now, before we dive into the next part of this conversation, now the next part of the conversation is how should we proceed in our debt-free journey? Because right now, if we take it all the way back to 2020 when we started with the cars and the credit card, we reduced the amount of money that we were investing, but we never really stopped investing. So we're going to dive into that. But hey, the homie Wolverine said you don't deserve that, right? And I'm going to bring this up because I actually had a conversation with him about this. And I kind of felt guilty about it, right? So when the pandemic started, we got an EBT card in the mail. And I was like, why the fuck did we get an EBT card in the mail? You know what I mean? Like, Yeah, if y'all seen my budget or go back and look at my budget videos, y'all get a good. I think I said it the last video, but yeah, after taxes, we ran a pretty sizable amount after taxes, and we stay in a high ass tax state. And so during the pandemic, we got these EBT cards in the mail, one for each child, and I'm talking about $300 and something dollars, almost $400 a month on each card. So when I first saw the card, this goes to who deserves what and how legislation should be written. Okay. Now, when I see these cards, immediately my mind think, oh shit, that's a mistake. I told my wife, do not use those cards. It's a mistake. We're not going to jail for EBT fraud. That'd be terrible. I'd be looking like Brett Favre out here defrauding a system designed to help the underserved and underprivileged. So I was really shook. I literally threw the cards in the drawer and was like, that don't sound right. I think this was a mistake. And I forgot about them. I got a notice in the mail like, hey, have you used your EBT benefits? And I'm like, why the fuck are we getting EBT benefits? Unbeknownst to me, I go Google it, do some research, and lo and behold, because of the pandemic, because children were at home, the government decided, you know what? If your child is at home, they're going to pay you. You'll have access to an EBT card no matter what your income is, because you have to supplement the meals for that child, blah, blah, blah. So, a part of me, I was like, man, I don't know. Like, man, let's just think about that. Is that a smart program or a dumb program? Because, I told my partner, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't deserve that. I'm a taxpaying citizen, but I didn't deserve it, one. And honestly, hey, the cost of everything is going up, but it's something that we didn't need. Now, I'm sure there's somebody out there who probably fucking applied for benefits and didn't get the shit. Now, I don't know. Where I'm at is really liberal, so they probably just gave it to everybody and gonna tax my black ass on the back end. That's not uncommon for what they like to do here. Very liberal place. But it made no sense that somebody who has a household income that puts them in the top probably 10%, 15% in the United States was getting EBT benefits for over a year. Like, to me, that just struck me as crazy. Now, I will tell you, I don't think I deserved it, but I damn sure used it, especially now because the price of groceries is crazy and it's something. But what do y'all think about that? I felt like if I was a legislator, okay, I know it's a pandemic. I want to give everybody some relief. And generally, I'm against putting caps on benefits. Like, if it was something like student loan repayment, but student loan repayment falls in the same category. If one person makes $250,000, has a stay-at-home wife, do they really need $10,000 of the government forgiveness when they paid it on their own? It was kind of crazy. I got the benefits. I questioned them. I thought it was fraud, and I didn't want to get arrested. I did some research, found out it was legit. By the time I finally used it, I ain't gonna lie, I felt a little bit guilty. I felt a little bit guilty about actually, using the benefits myself. But hey, we did use them. But I don't know. I felt like that program and we gonna go out and I don't eat crabs like that, but we about to go out and get a nice steak and everything. The government gonna see this video and be like, don't approve anything else for this DFD food. But all right, so let's go ahead, dive in. And I want y'all to see this conversation that I had with JT. If you aren't familiar, his channel is Pocket Watching with JT. Really dope channel. It's interesting. It's a finance call-in radio show. He's a certified financial planner. He gives advice. He talks on current event and topics. Now, hey, JT's the guy. Hey, salute to the homie. But hey, he hasn't said anything that, from anything that I watched, that came off criminal. That's point number one. Point number two, I think his show is entertaining as hell. But point number three is he and I necessarily don't agree on anything. But I feel like he gives genuine advice. So I want y'all to watch this clip. I called into his show and was discussing what is the best way to move forward. And I want y'all to hear the advice that I got from a Pocket Watching with JT, a certified financial planner. And then we're going to talk about it. Y'all already know I'm stubborn as hell. It don't make a difference who advice it is, but we got to talk about it. I had some time to think about it and figure out if it's the best way to move forward. Right now, I'm still not sure, but let's go ahead and take a look at the clip.
Pocket Watching with JT. Thank you for calling.
JT was good, man. It's debt free day.
It's debt free day.
We can get some free guidance from you, brother.
All right, well, let's see if I'm up to the task. What's going on?
All right, I got two things I want to ask, and each one related to the payment of my student loan, right? So the first question is, started out with 2 student loans. My wife's was $130,000. Mine was $109,000. Well, during this period of not having no interest, mine is probably going to be about $25,000 by the time payments resume, if they resume next year, so it'll be about $25,000.
Okay.
So I have a couple of options, right? One option is, just when the payments resume as normal, I'm paying interest rates on my wife, I think is 6. Mine's at about 4 and some change. Option number 1 is just pay the minimum on hers. Everything else goes towards mine. Or option number 2, put her in forbearance and just pay the interest on hers, and then knock mine out really fast, then move to hers.
Okay, what's the balances again? What's the balance on yours and balance on hers?
By the time loans start back up, when interest start back, I probably have, worst case scenario, probably about $30,000 left on mine, and hers is at $130. But we just jumped on mine first because it was $109. It was the smallest one. Let's just go ahead and knock that one out.
Okay. I mean, if we're going like the debt snowball method, it would make the most sense to do the minimum payment on hers, and you really kick it into high gear and getting yours completely paid off. Once yours is completely paid off, you can then roll all of that going very, very hard on paying hers off. Even though her interest rate is higher, it makes more sense because the momentum that you'll be able to have and the energy that you'll be able to have knowing that you were able to pay yours off is going to allow you to keep going to knock hers off. Now, how much money do you have freely available to throw at this $30,000 of yours?
Typically, on a real strong month, it would be with no random surprises popping up. We talking anywhere between $300 to $3,400. We have $3,000 to $3,400 we've been putting on it.
Okay, and you have an emergency savings fund.
Yeah. We got about 5 months of emergency stashed away, and we got an account on autopilot, a set amount that just goes to that fund because we're trying to get it up to 6 to 9 months. So it's just that's kind of on autopilot outside of the extra that we're contributing to this student loan.
All right, and what type of budget are we looking at, right? Do you have a budget that is straight up, hey, I am focused on only paying the necessities, or do you have some fun money budgeted in there?
There's a little bit of fun money budgeted in there. I told you we did the whole FTU thing. That's the only way I could convince my wife to get on board because she didn't want to hear what I had to say. I had a whole white guy tell her. But either way, it ended up working out. But we got a budget. We do got a little bit of fun money, stashed away. She got a couple dollars she can spend a month, and I do. I typically just probably invest mine because that's how I am.
You're an attorney. When you say a little bit of money, what is a little bit of money in the range of hundreds of dollars? What are we talking about here?
Is that better? Percentage-wise of the monthly income, my play money is 3% of what we make a month.
Yeah, but percentage-wise don't mean nothing to me. I want to know dollar range.
She got about $400 to do whatever it is, and I got about $300. And I know with mine, I normally just invest mine and put it up into stocks or something like that.
Honestly, with me, I wouldn't even be investing. I would be just knocking out this debt. Get the debt down as soon as possible. Right? I talk about this all the time about the order of operations. While it feels good to go ahead and invest right now, you want to try to get that debt down as soon as possible and think what you can do with investing when the debt is gone.
See, that's a good segue because my second question actually kind of pertains to that, right?
The reason we didn't focus on it like that because we were like, we'll just do a little bit on the student loans and focus on the investing. But probably a couple years ago, we got to the point where we invested enough to, if we never invested enough and just waited until we were 60, we would meet the dollar amount that we have identified as our minimum for retirement.
Okay.
So the other question is, where would you recommend it? And I know it's going to be hard for me to do because it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around because it's a math thing. But would you ever say, damn, if you got your investments to that point where if you don't do anything, you'll hit that minimum about 60, just cut off all investments and throw everything at that and just supercharge forward since we actually do got something invested. It's not like we don't have anything or never thought. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even before you got to that point with the your investment account or being on that way, it's like I would have said before, stop doing the investments to try to get the debt down as soon as possible.
Right.
We live in business cycles. There's going to be ups and downs, right? Most people, if they were looking at their 401k right now, is probably lower than it was about a year and a half to 2 years ago, right? I mean, I can guess that it's probably lower, right? So as people are now looking at their investment portfolio and they're seeing it down by a certain percentage, and it's making them think like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I mean, I know you know long term it's going to probably be high, right? So I know you don't have to think this way, but this is for the general public. It's like, yeah, you're looking at your investment portfolio, you see that it's down, but the debt isn't moving. The debt that you have didn't move. So your debt does not care about the stock market, right?
Right.
Market can drop down by 20%. Your debt is still growing. My advice is always, hey, let's go ahead and get that debt done with as soon as possible. Because when the market is down and I'm debt free, how much more can I buy at a lower price point? How much more can I buy on sale? Because to me, as a long-term investor, whenever the market's down, I'm not worried. I'm not going to retire for another 30, 35, maybe 40 years. So when the market is down, I'm rubbing my hands together because I know I get to buy the same stuff I was buying a day ago or a month ago at a lower price point. And if I'm debt free, I can really go at it hard. But if you got this investment portfolio and you see it dip 5, 10, 15, 20%, and you still got the debt, it doesn't make as much sense. So I would say, go ahead. If I was in your shoes, I would stop my investing. I would stop putting in until I can really get this debt out of the way. Everything but my mortgage, I am knocking and killing that debt all the way through. Because you look up, 2-3 years, debt free. Now think how much money you can throw into a down market when you're debt free. You'll make up for all what you feel as if you're losing by not getting in on the action now. You see what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, the math will make sense because you'll have so much money to buy in a down market instead of on the margins of a couple $100. You'll be able to throw thousands of dollars comfortably, right? Not living on the edge. You'll be able to comfortably throw thousands of dollars in on a down market and watch that thing scale up by the time you hit your retirement.
Okay. All right. Cool. That's solid, man. I appreciate it, bro.
Okay, let's talk about it. Let's rap about it. That was interesting. All right. Now, hey, I'm gonna tell y'all off the break. I don't think that's a terrible idea. Man, you still working, bro? You better hurry up, man. Y'all getting any of that terrible weather? Hey, if y'all getting any of this crazy weather, on the East Coast, Carolinas, or wherever it's coming from, y'all make sure y'all be safe out there. Just because, Mother Nature don't play. It's one DFD ain't afraid of too much for somebody who, seen a lot of crazy stuff, been into a war zone. But if y'all want to see me look like a little sucker, I don't mess with Mother Nature. Earthquakes, natural disasters. Nah, your boy shook. Okay, okay. Well, I, the option is, I think that the debt, still kind of lies around. I understand that. With me, the hard thing for me to wrap around my mind around is like stopping my investments completely to pay off my debts. Now, mathematically, I'm gonna be honest, we probably would be able to put, I haven't even broke down the numbers because I just kind of got a lot of stuff on autopilot. But we could be talking an extra $1,800, $2,400 a month to put towards student loans. So we could be talking, instead of $3,000 a month, let's say 55, 5,400 a month on student loans if we didn't do absolutely any investing. And I know that sounds great, but for me, it's two things that gives me cause to pause about stopping investments completely. Okay, the first one is, if we're talking stopping all investments completely, that would include stopping any investing in a 401k. And one, I feel like an idiot. I would feel like a real goofy if I'm not investing in my 401k 5% to get the employer match. That's option number one. I just feel like I would be leaving free money on the table, throwing money on the table. And that, I mean, it just don't sit comfortable with me, money on the tables. Oh, okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, it's normally them coasts that's going to catch it. That's good. Just going through, checking out the comments. Let me see. Yeah, yeah. And that's fair too. I know I got a little bit more research to do on it, but the one thing with saying, hey, let's stop investing completely and focus on that debt. Um, There's a couple of things. Okay, 3 points to that. First of all, if we stop investing completely, I'm just going to be honest with you. I feel like if we stop investing completely, somehow our budget will find a way to use up some of the excess money, so that that money that we were investing, all of it is not going towards something else. I feel like having investment money automatically taken out, it gives us a cushion of, one, we're investing when the market is down. Two, we're getting the employer match because we're investing 5% or more. But three, let's say if we stop investing, that's an extra $2,000 a month. Of that $2,000, I know probably $300 or $400 is going to magically end up in the budget going someplace that I don't want it to go. So I'd rather it go to investment and kind of slow roll the student loan payoff. And I mean, it's honestly, paying $3,000 a month on those loans isn't really slow rolling it. So, but that's one. One, I can't. I budget and we do budget, but I know for a fact our budget isn't so pinpoint tight to where if we stop investing, 100% of that money that we aren't investing is going to go to the debt. I already know what's going to happen. I ain't going to blame it on nobody, but I already know maybe 80% of that money, maybe 80% of that money might go towards the debt. So, that's kind of point number one. I don't know if 100% of that money we stop investing will go to the debt. A small percentage of that is just going to get lost in the ether due to some spending or some overage or something. That's point number one. Like I said, the other point was, I don't want to not get the 5% match that my employer is doing. If somebody said, for every dollar you give me, I'm going to give you $1 back, I'd be giving them dollars like hell. So I would feel real goofy and foolish not taking advantage of that. That's the second point. And I think the third point for me is, I don't know, like, how can I put this? I feel like I'm comfortable, and I think we're comfortable at the pace that we're going to pay off the student loans. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like early on, before we just had student loans, when it was the cars and the credit cards, we was hungry to get rid of that shit because we knew once we knocked that stuff out, we can ease off the gas a little bit, pay relatively aggressively on that student loan, but we can calculate a budget that allows enough for us to do things we want to do. I already told y'all, like, what I spend for my daughter to participate in dance is fucking crazy. I'm talking about is a Tesla car payment for somebody who wouldn't put a down payment down, but that's something my daughter's going to get. My son, he's starting up additional classes and extracurricular activities is going to cost. Of course, I'm not going to deprive my family of opportunities from vacations and stuff like that. I guess the way when I had the aneurysm, that kind of changed my view on like, I want to go hard, but I'm never going to go so hard when I'm depriving my family of certain things because you never know what the hell, can happen. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration. Like, yeah, and that's true too. I think because I already know. I'm telling you right now. If I know if we're debt free, I'm not gonna be like, yes, we're debt free. All of that money that we were paying to the student loans, let's flip it all over to the mortgage now. Nah, we're probably gonna take a 70% of that, throw at the mortgage. That other 30% of those funds that we would have been paying on debt, man, we gonna be like, shit. We went through 4 or 5 years. We went through 4 or 5 years of paying off that debt. Let's enjoy a little bit of time to, that monthly play money budget. Let's increase that up a few percentage points. So I already know that that's going to happen. So I definitely think that that's a good point. You know what I mean? Yeah, and it requires a large amount of discipline. And I'll be honest, I don't know if I don't know if I don't know if we have that discipline to take all of that we would have been investing to put it towards the debt. So if I would rather invest it than to take it and put a smaller percentage of it to the debt. At least I know with the investment, if I'm putting it now, I know all of that shit that's on autopilot that's going to my investment account. I'm just going to sit back, wait patiently, and in 24 months, 36 months, when that pop, I'm going to look at my portfolio and I'm going to be like, oh, that was fast. first generation millionaire status. Check. so that's kind of the other thing. And like I said, it would be one thing if we weren't making any progress, but we are making progress on that debt payment. So I think that's, some of the things that's just kind of mulling through my head. You know what I mean? Nah, man, I don't buy no Jordans like that, man. The Jordans I got, man, please. Them jumps. The Jordans I got, the deal I be getting on them Jordans, them jumps probably from Wuhan. I tell people all the time, they're like, man, them shoes nice. Where you get those from? I be like, hey, I can't confirm or deny the authenticity of these shoes, okay? So if somebody come and be like, man, give me those Jordans, I'll be like, man, here you go, bro. The guy I bought them from hooked me up. I don't know where he got them from, but man, please, I ain't buy a pair of Jordans in decades, man. Once I got kids, I stopped buying all of that stuff. So I ain't buy shoes and Jordans in almost 16, 17 years, man. I don't really care about that stuff too much. It's more experiences, dining out, going out with the wife, going on a vacation, going to a random comedy show that I want to go to, going to a random fight in New York City because I can. That's what will happen to it. And so because I know that our budget isn't as strong as it probably could be, it's probably more advantageous to keep doing what we're doing and see how it goes. That's kind of the thought process I'm in right now. Yeah, and that's the other point too. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I could pay it off sooner, but I don't. Nah, it's certain things that my family is just gonna do and be able to enjoy because that's what my wife and I work hard to do, and I'm not gonna deprive them of that. It would be one thing if we were paycheck to paycheck, and but we passed that survival stage. So now that we're in, I like to call it the stage of surplus. I feel like, I want to keep a healthy balance. And right now, our balance is probably, if I had to allocate it, it would probably be, I would say it's probably a 40%. And this isn't this isn't absolute dollar amounts, but I would probably say 35 to 40% debt payoff, maybe another 35 to 40% on, just the general living mortgage, the essential things, utilities, and investing. Then maybe 30% is towards the extras, the vacations that the family is going to go on. Okay, my son's 16th birthday is coming up, and I'm stashing money away. He don't want a car, thank God. But if he just wake up one morning wanting a car, and he already knows the deal, we'll match what you have. And I know what he got in his account because I see his account. If he give me 2 or 3 bands saying I want a car, I wanted to make sure I had the funds to match whatever he got because that's what the hell I told him I was going to do. So, there's a lot of, I don't know, it's just a lot of thoughts to go in it. I always try to find the middle ground, and I tell you I don't think JT's advice was bad. It's not his advice thing. It's kind of a me thing and determine. Yeah, man. Hey, man, I ain't gonna. Hey, everybody complain about the pandemic, man. Shit, I made more smart. I made the smartest moves I ever made. Financially during the pandemic, probably because we were just forced to out of an abundance of caution. So I'm definitely grateful for that. I always got to find the silver lining and stuff. You know what I mean? Exactly. You know how pissed I'd be if I say, okay, family, we're not going on no vacations. We not doing nothing. Nobody's doing nothing. We ain't doing a damn thing. And we're going to focus on paying off this debt. And the day I had my family on beans and rice, the proverbial rice and beans, according to Dave Ramsey. And Lord forbid something happened to me the day after. I go out there to do my debt-free scream and I'm too excited and my goddamn head explode. Man, I'd be so goddamn pissed. I'd be so pissed, like, man, I put my family through all of that for 2.5 years where we could have toned it down and I probably wouldn't have screamed so hard to blow up my cerebral cortex. So I definitely agree with you that, that's an experience that really changes your perspective on things. And honestly, it really made me a lot calmer person. I tell y'all, like, it's funny. My son was like, man, you're probably you're definitely the more calmer of the parents in the household. I was really proud of him say that because before that everything drove me crazy, but now I don't care about faith, family, and finances in that order. Outside of those 3 things, it ain't shit that can happen. I don't care if it's in work. I don't care if it's personal life. I don't care. Outside of those 3 things being inconvenience or extremely altered, is nothing that can happen that would actually get on my nerves because I just don't give a damn because there are more important things to stress out and worry about than whatever trivial thing that's not going to make sense or not be important 5 days from now, 5 months from now, 5 years from now. So, oh, he gonna get a shit first car. He not getting no good first car. Because y'all already know when my son started talking about car, I knew the game my wife was going to pull off. She was like, yeah, we could give him my car and I can get a new car. I was like, bullshit. I was like, nah, we not doing that. And it was cool because, my son was like, nah, I don't want mom's car as my first car. And he shouldn't have it. It's an old car, but he not going to be able to afford the maintenance on a BMW. I don't give a fuck how old it is if something happened. His first car is going to be an old ass car, something he worked for so he can appreciate the upgrade when he actually makes money so he can get his own upgrade. But those are just kind of some of the things. Now I will tell you where I think I'm going to end this, and I think this made sense. All right. Now, currently we're paying off debt and we're still investing. And I just told y'all, I feel like a goofy as much as I know about as much as the value of the investments that we are making right now is going to be in 2 or 3 years, I would feel like a fool to just stop investing completely. I just can't do that. I can't do one extreme one way or the other. That's just kind of how I am. I'm like, no, I'm so risk averse. I never do an extreme to the right. I never do extreme to the left. Normally I'm somewhere in the middle, maybe a little bit middle to this side, but that's just kind of how I am in particular. So I'm never going to say, okay, no investing, all the debt over here. Or you know what? hey, let's just invest it all, and then when the money grow, let's pull out the investments. I got friends on YouTube who invested the fucking equity from their house. That's, to me, that's fucking crazy. I never put that much exposure on my family because it could work out. But I know a year and a half ago that portfolio was looking crazy, but now I know that portfolio down like hell, and that's the equity you took out of your home. Y'all check out their channel as well. I'll link it in the bio. But is, I just don't think I don't know. I just can't go one extreme or another. So I think if I had to find a middle ground to do, let me find a middle ground to do where I think I could pay more, but I'm still doing something. So what I'm thinking is, if I had to do a minimum ground, and I'm not convinced I'm going to do it. I'll see how things play out once the interest rates and we have to restart making student loan payments. But what I'm thinking about doing is, okay, if I could stand back and look at the landscape, reduce our household investments to the bare minimum. That's 5% in our 401k just to get the employer match. That's it. And then just max out and invest in our IRAs, Roths, all of that good stuff. And don't do anything outside of that. So that's a balance that I may be willing to concede to. It won't completely take me out of the investment game. I'll be putting some money in during this down market. I'll be getting that employer match, that free money, but it will free up some extra money so we can pay more on the student loan debt. So, when the time comes, that may be an option that I'll actually consider. Easing back on the, adding a couple $100 a month to the single stock portfolio, easing back on adding a couple bucks a month to the investment portfolio. That's crazy. That's common. I was like, that's a common thing. Is that something that, I don't know, how Australia and their channels or whatever? I don't know. You don't strike me as a home equity investing type of person, but I know y'all different because y'all kind of, y'all on y'all debt free thing. So I think that's a little bit different. I would never do it because that's just too much exposure and too much risk. I take out $200,000 of my home equity, put that $200,000 in the market in 2020, and now that $200,000 is worth $120,000. Oh, hell no. That wouldn't sit right with me to be able to do that. Again, when we talk about that spectrum of going too far to this side or too far to that side, that's okay. I didn't want to speak for you. I kind of had a feeling that, if you was doing some shit like that, I felt like I would have saw it in a previous video. Hey, y'all make sure y'all go check out Aaron's channel, by the way. It's a really dope channel. But yeah, I felt fairly confident in saying that I don't think that's what you would do, but I didn't want to speak to you, so I'm glad you chimed in, and we know that you definitely not doing that shit. That's crazy as hell. Yeah, that's how it is, though. That's how it is. I'm not opposed to risk, but I limit the amount of risk that I want to take. Like this is kind of where I fall on the spectrum. I'm never going to go too far to the right or too far for the left. And so I think the best example is investment properties. I see a lot of people talk about all of the investment properties that they have. They have 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 investment properties. For me, nah, you trouble. You trouble. She trouble light. You trouble. I'm just messing with you. But for me, when it comes to investment properties, I see a lot of people on YouTube like, oh, this is our 4th or 5th investment home, and they got a mortgage on all 5. Like, that's crazy as hell. Like, there's no way. And I understand the mathematics and the cash flow behind it. I do. I genuinely do. But I personally know someone who had a lot of real estate, what I think is a lot of real estate, 4 or 5 properties, and they had mortgages on all of them, and checks were just coming in like clockwork, and everything was on the up and up. And then in 2008, when the housing market collapsed and the economy went upside down and people couldn't pay their mortgage, this dude was not getting his cash flow, the value of his homes. He couldn't even borrow against it because the house value went down. And that was just too much damn risk. So when I buy a rental property, my rule for rental properties is I'm only allowed to have one open mortgage on a rental property at a time. And then when I pay that one off, then I can acquire my next property. That's how I currently have land that's paid off because I was like, I'm not going to be paying on this damn land. That's crazy. I have a house that my father stays in that's paid off because I said, you know what? I don't want to have a mortgage. So I'm real risk averse. So you'll never find me getting too fancy, investing in a bunch of complicated shit that I don't understand, investing in having, I don't care about the amount of doors. Like everybody be like, oh, I got 7-door portfolio and a 10-door portfolio. How many fucking mortgages do you got on those doors? You know, me, like, okay, you know what? I'm cool. I got a 1-door portfolio and I got some acres, but all that shit is paid for. One paid for door for me is worth 3 of your doors that got a mortgage on them because I don't have to worry about any of the risk. So that's kind of where I fall when it comes to, you know, that's kind of where I fall when it comes to Trouble Infinite. That's kind of where I fall when it comes to risk and things to do. So, you know, that's kind of, you know, where we are right now. What we're thinking about doing. I got a few months. It's not going to be anything and we got to make a move on until January. We're not going to have to make a move on it until the government tells us, hey, y'all start paying these student loans off and the interest is back on. Until that happens, I'm not really going to worry about it. I think I'm going to approach it, but it looked like it might be a possibility. You know, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go ahead and say this first. I think the shit is going to get extended again personally because it's going to be an election right around the corner. And if it get extended again, hey, that's just gonna be even better for us. But I feel 70% confident that when January roll around, 2023, with the election of 2024 around, I don't think nobody want to be the party who starts to make people pay back their student loans. If you're gonna do that shit, that's something you got to do the day after inauguration when you take your oath of office. Then you got time for people to adjust to being angry at you about doing it. But that's kind of our approach. You know, I always appreciate the feedback and everything y'all give. It is interesting too. So, you know, you just evaluate all your options. I guess at the end of the day, you got to evaluate all your options. And you also got to realize that whatever your financial plan is, whatever your goal is for anything, like finances are like relationships. The most fucking important opinion are the people who are involved in it. That's really the most important opinion that's out there. So I guess I'll leave it at that. Hey, real quick, 2 things before I go. I appreciate everybody who voted in a poll. And y'all really disappointed me in this poll, fellas. I don't know where y'all at, because I know amazingly 81% of my audience is fellas. Like all that testosterone out there, I thought for certain they would vote to see the story about the teacher who was fired because of her OnlyFans page. But amazingly, that option got blew out of the water, which is a hilarious video, I think. But Monday's video is going to be real interesting because it's on a scam on and y'all, I don't want y'all to think when I throw these topics out, it's just kind of hyperbole or me just going off all opinion. So, hey, inflation is a hustle. It's really a hustle. And just know when y'all see this video I dropped Monday, it's not going to be me just sitting here telling y'all that it's a hustle. Hey, I'm an attorney, so I got to bring some receipts. But it's some gamesmanship, and some finessing going on with all this inflation talking bullshit. You know what I mean? Let's just keep it a buck. Like, hey, if I'm a company and I'm selling widgets, I want everybody to say inflation because I'm gonna increase prices like a motherfucker. But so that's gonna be dope. And next Friday, what I'm trying to do is stay consistent. So every other Friday, I'm gonna have a guest on. I'm gonna have a high-speed attorney on who's gonna give us the game on estate planning, wills, trust, irrevocable trust. She actually created a trust and wrote an article talking about leaving a trust for your pets. And that's something that I really need to know about because I already told y'all, if my kids grow up to be goofy ass adults, I'm leaving everything to the Pitbull Association of America. And this sister is going to show us and show me how I could do that in the event that my kids are some doofuses. So that should definitely be cool. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, it was a poll on topics. You know, what I mean, it was a poll on topics, and I was we don't get into that field. No, man, there is a as with all of my videos, no matter the topic, there is a finance and or legal perspective associated with the teacher who got fired for her OnlyFans page, and you know it's very in depth. So that video will come out at some point. And hey, I'll be honest, like in elementary school, yeah, but hey, I don't know if you remember Miss Gentry, but Miss Gentry, if you out there, you probably like 70 something years old right now. But if I was in high school and OnlyFans were a thing, and I found out Miss Gentry had one, I was watching that shit. Yeah, that's definitely the case. But yeah, it's some legal and financial points in there. I'll tell you, I'm actually looking into that as well. I'm doing some research because I do want to have a psychologist on to understand how people respond and act to money. Actually, it's crazy. I had to go like dig in my network. My network is like a bunch of attorneys, and you know, like I'm not gonna say this about all attorneys, but I say this about like 84.2% of them. They dry as hell. They're like, yeah, when you're talking about so I gotta find someone who can speak to the issue, but can also talk about whatever social issue or current event nexus. And there's a special type of psychologist I'm looking for. They call it a financial psychologist. So I want someone who really has that background into behavior and the behavior that people have with money. And so I'm really right now I'm just kind of vetting through a list of like 5 or 6 candidates that I have to, you know, just kind of talk about that. But that's something that I thought about because, you know, what I want to do is put a playlist up with all of these conversations that I'm having with people who've done something or professionals in a particular given area, you know. So that's really what I'm thinking about doing. You remember? I don't know if you remember Miss Gentry. I don't know if she was. I don't know if you remember Miss Gentry, but yeah. Oh, you remember? I looked at the next comment. She was fine. Yeah, I was like, I got all A's in her class. I was cleaning the erasers afterwards, bringing her apples. It was really terrible. Yep. You know, at the end of the lives, the shit go left. So, right, we had a brief conversation about OnlyFans and some other stuff, but you know, hey, at the end of the day, just know the caveat is that any content that's posted is going to have a financial and or legal nexus. That's the great thing about finances. You could tie that into anything. You could tie that shit into anything. It could be a story about a guy who went to the zoo and stole an alligator, and I could be like, "Oh man, this is gonna cost you. You're gonna have to pay a stupid tax because your ass going to jail, and you got bit the hell up." So that's the great thing about finances. You can make it so creative and so many ways. It's bad easy. You know what I mean? It's bad easy to do. But hey, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm gonna get out of here because I hear a lot of ruckus, and I can't like text my wife to be like, tell those kids to shut the hell up. I got to go out there and see what they're doing. And I promised my daughter I would play a game with her. My son, I don't know what the hell he doing. He at that age, but he don't care about hanging out with me. So that's cool. I got more time to hang out with the little one. So y'all be blessed. Have a good one. Hey, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Take care. Be safe. Peace.